Gus, how are you doing, man?
Not bad for a Monday night, eh?
Not
It's nice
bad,
and
not bad.
nice and wintry here in TO, I must say.
It's very nice and wintry here in Boston. It was snowing pretty hard
Oh,
last night.
yeah. So you guys know.
Yeah, oh yeah. We're not too far apart, you know. We're
No, no, man.
the
Yeah,
border's
no,
not
no.
too
The only
far.
the only thing, the only difference is the hockey, and that's about it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You do always got to make point of that, eh? Especially when it comes to guys from Boston. It's got to be
Oh,
really bad. If I ever get a chance to play there, it'll be one of those shit, man. I'm gonna wear my colors, and I don't give a fuck, eh?
yeah, let's be civil and not discuss the Bruins.
Cheers.
Yeah, cheers. We're already in enough trouble with, our government wanting to take over yours. So
Yeah, I know.
it's a little it's
It's
a lot.
today's a little bit complicated, and I've had some frank discussions even with my own family about it. So I have my own opinion. I'm not saying any more about it for
Yeah,
sure.
and I think it's for the
There's no
best.
point. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just wow, it's just deafening, and I don't care.
Everyone's made up their own minds already, and it's
Yeah.
just
Oh,
it's a
fuck yeah.
topic where it's like I don't want to lose any more friends, you know.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
So
I
it's let's
won't
just
even
talk about
I
the
won't
music.
even say anything publicly. I've got a lot of friends that do, and I'm like, I respect their opinions, but I mean, for me, it's just not one of those platforms I really give a shit about. Right now, I'm so consumed by the fact that my new record is like 3 days away from I can feel it, touch it, smell it, and
So
I'm I'm
close.
I'm so stoked. I've been listening to it now for like better part since last June, and I've had it recorded since September of 23. So it's a long time for this guy.
Yeah, so I actually wanted to jump right into that. Like, how long was this album in the works for? Like, in terms of like the contraception?
Yeah, well, fuck, man. The first 7 years, like there was a few times I show up and I don't got nothing, Gus, and I'm like, I get it, man. I said it's got to come from here, and when it does, I'll feel it in here, and it'll go to my legs, and generally that's what always happens between the two of us, and has been like that since we started playing together. So it's been, yeah, it's usually gut instinct, and luckily with this one, I'm pretty happy about all the songs and all the songs we did together, and it was probably the last 7 years was probably the best feeling, best experience I've had. And some of them, they didn't even exist until we actually got to recording it. So that was kind of like a completely unusual, but I was pretty happy that we could pull them off.
Yeah, and
And,
really great to hear for
oh yeah,
sure.
because I speak about Antidote basically. Like that song didn't exist until basically September of 23. Like that weekend, last day we put it together and recorded it. So that's just one of those songs that, man, I still can't get over it happened for us, and it was that good.
Killer. It's absolutely killer. The singles are fantastic, man. So you're
Thanks.
saying that was like one of the later songs written?
Yeah,
Yeah.
like out of the gate, we had Comatose, Underneath Millennia, and what was the third one? Missile. We had those three songs. We've played those songs for 7 years. So I was feeling pretty confident about what we were going to deliver when we actually recorded those songs. So the rest of it was pieced together. Black Hashish was basically 7 years in the making. He gave me that song right out of the gate. I loved it. So I was like, yeah, man, we're gonna do that one. I don't care what fucking people think.
It's crazy how long this has been in production, and now we're so close, man. And I'm
Yeah, I know.
so excited. We're so close. What was the creative chemistry like for this record between all
Oh,
the members?
fantastic. I was really well. I mean, for the other two guys, specifically Scott and Joe, like a lot of at least the last quarter of this album, they had no idea it was coming. So I get a message from Watts probably about a month after he got it, and he sent me a video, and I'm gonna keep it because I think sometime down the road we need to make a little documentary about this album because it's that good, and I got all this extra footage of all of us kicking around, and especially Rico learning all the songs. I have all these videos of him sending me leads, playing this stuff as we went along, and I was like, man, this would be stupid to waste all this stuff because people would shit their pants. That this is the first time he's played it, the first time when Scott heard it and heard the whole thing, and he sent me a message. He goes, you didn't waste time on this one, did you? And he was kind of tripping about how hard I played on this record, and I was like, yeah. I said, you guys are going to have fun with this one.
Yeah. and
Have you,
and
Brandon? Have you heard the whole thing though?
I unfortunately have not. No, I've heard some
So
of the
you've only
stuff
heard the
on
single.
YouTube. Yeah, I have just heard the singles. Absolutely killer, man. And I do have to confess, I've been a fan of the band for a couple years now. I'm 26. It's not like I
Yeah,
grew up
you're
with the
see,
records or anything.
I'm telling you right now, man, you're the kind of guy that I've been dreaming about worshiping this record because I want the young guys to fucking love this record, right? I already know that we got all the 40, 50-year olds and even the 60-year-old guys in the palm of our hand. We've had them in our backyard and watching our stuff like since we were kids. So that's an automatic. And that was kind of maybe the reflection with the ones I condemned, that those guys really loved it and kept us, kept us still playing and being vibrant all these years. But this record, I was like, shit, man, I want guys like you guys to embrace it and find out who we finally were all after all these years. Because I think we were kind of maybe missed with some of the guys on Condemned, at least the young guys. But I'm finding now that guys are finding out about us when we've played big festivals like Maryland, played in Europe, and then all these younger guys are starting to come out and see us play. So forgive me. I mean, my passion to throw a line out to you fucking guys and bring you all into my boat, man, and fucking and keep you guys happy. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, well, you did your job, man.
Thanks, man.
These singles are absolutely fucking killer. Some of the best material from the band. Now, something interesting, what's cool about like kind of getting into a band like only for a couple years now is I can really rate the whole discography equally. You know what I mean? It's not like it's like, oh, I grew up with this, so this will be the best record no matter what.
Yeah, yeah,
It's
I know.
and what's really great is like I love the whole band's discography. The ones I condemn have some of my favorite material on the since the like in total that the band's ever put
Yeah,
out. So,
thanks.
I feel like the singles that I've heard are almost like a step up from that. And that's from something that's already great, which is so awesome to hear. And this record is something that I cannot fucking wait to listen to. And
Oh,
I'm so, so happy.
seriously, man, I'm so fucking stoked to hear you guys say that and to see the enthusiasm coming because now I'm just starting to get like now I'm getting all the guys on this side of the fucking border hearing the album for the first time. You know what I'm saying? Like it's I've been barbecuing, man, for like all last fucking summer. Like I got a 3-year-old upstairs that knows this album inside out, and all I can tell you is I thought, man, if I could get that guy to love the album, which he has, I thought, man, wow, can we fucking transcend finally and get that fucking, that's something where guys really want to see us play, right? And I knew, yeah, I don't know, man. Last June, I kind of thought, yeah, we got a shot. It's
Yeah,
been great.
and you hit it, fucking bullseye, man. And
Oh, it's been great.
with
Fucking
only
great.
hearing the singles, I'm so stoked. I'm just so curious. The band has such a strong discography. What was your approach to songwriting in terms of the whole band for this record? And
Oh,
has it always been the case? Has this approach to songwriting been different on like each record, or do you guys have a traditional way of writing?
Uh, well, the first three albums, it was basically all of us in a room together, putting it all together. This experience was strictly just me and Rob. Uh, he had a lot of the stuff demoed. A lot of the songs were given to me demo wise, and then I listened back to them, and I was like, well, I said, "How do you program drums to sound like me?" And I asked him that question. He goes, "Yeah, yeah." He goes, "It's uncanny, but yeah." And everything he's given me, especially on Condemned, where it's all in demo form, I fell in love with everything. And then we started writing songs that were missing. And what can I tell you? It was no different for, well, maybe a little more so for V6, where uh, he gave me a lot of the demoed stuff. I heard it, and then we started jamming it, and then stuff stuck, and then there was a bit of a writing glut, and then the pandemic came. Man, holy shit! So I thought maybe getting right into maybe 18, 19 and into 20, but as soon as 20 came, it kind of just flushed everything. I end up doing the single for World War V, and here we are. Like, we finally were able to corral the rest of this album and finish it going into 23. So yeah, the process for us is has been always how does it feel? What's in your gut, And we've always based it on that. Um, yeah, sometimes I'll just hear a demo or he'll send me something, and I mean, not like he didn't have tons of songs written for this album. He gave me tons of stuff. I played lots of stuff. I demoed lots of stuff, gave it to him, and he was like, "Shit, that's overwhelming," and blah blah blah. And for instance, "Explode." I'll give you a little storyline behind that.
Go for it.
I demoed it in 2020. I gave it to him, and for me, it was a song that I loved right out of the gate, demo wise. And he gave it to me. I recorded it, and then I all of a sudden I went to him. I said, "Man, what do you think?" He was like, "I don't know. I don't hear anything. I don't hear any lyrics." And this is true, Brandon. He said that to me in 2021. I have a witness, and then uh, me and Brian Shelton, who's the guy that helped me demo the early V6 stuff. He knew about it too, but him and I were in love with this single. So I said to him, I said, "Okay, whatever." And then I guess probably about 2 years ago, he said to me, he goes, I think we might have something with Explode, eh? I said, "No, seriously?" He goes, "Yeah." He
Yeah.
goes, "Yeah, I think we could do something with it, Gus." And I was like, "You're fucking with me, aren't you?" I said, "Don't lie." I said, "You're not. You got lyrics?" And yeah. He goes, "I got some ideas." I said, "Okay." And then going into 23 early, we jammed it a bit. It started sounding really great. And then by the time we got into the studio, what can I tell you? Maybe maybe 4 months worth of conception, playing, and then really tightening it up, and then laying it down. So that for us was I was super happy about that. Everything else, Black Hashish, um, Antidote wasn't written until we got into the studio. So that was done the last day, 3 hours, 4 hours to do that song. He had it in demo. That's all I can tell you, man. He gave it to me in demo. I
Crazy.
fell in love. I fell in love with it that July 23. And I'm telling you, I fell in love with it. I played it. We played it for 2 minutes in July. And then we got in the studio, and then he goes, "You want to do it?" The last day, and we did the beginning of it, all the double bass stuff, and I fell in love with it. We got to the end where the fast part was. We were kind of burnt out, hungry, and Darius goes, "Let's stop. Let's think about this one and have a break and have something to eat." And then we finished it. And I'm serious. We finished it in like over a 90-minute period to finish the fast part. Laid it all down. I did a couple fills, like a whole bunch of fills for it to on a certain couple parts, and they looked at me and they were like, "Okay, we got something." And he pieced it all together, and he was like, "Here we go, man. What do you think?" And we slammed it together, and I played it. And I was like, "Shit, man, that sounds great," and it sounded better than the demo I had. So for me, between me and you, Antidote for me is a badge of honor. I still can't get over how fast we wrote it. It's kind of like Reanimation, same thing. It took us. We wrote that one Saturday jamming, and we wrote it in like 2 minutes. And they came rushing. He came rushing down. Heard me and Joe playing it. Same thing. What is that? And then we develop it over like an hour or something, and then it's finished. It's a crazy process, but sometimes that's happened for us. Or it took us 7 years to write 3 or 4 or 5 songs. How do you explain that, right? You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah.
For me, it's that's our creative process that we've gone through, and yeah, it's strange but true. But yeah, this one was maybe a little bit of labor, maybe a lot of delays from the world itself. So be it. But I mean, for me and him, I was just glad to finally get this album, on tape and record it and to finally put it out. That I think it was going to be as good as it was. When I heard the guitars done and finished by March and vocals, I knew that, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, Antidote's such a fucking killer track, man. And that's so interesting to hear the backstory there because I feel like that's almost like weirdly a lost process when bands put together tracks. A lot of bands are so technical with writing nowadays, where I feel like they
Yeah,
lose kind of that energy and that flow and that natural gut feeling of writing.
yeah,
And
exactly. And
that's really, really cool to hear, man. And Antidote's a killer track. How did you go about choosing the singles for this record?
oh,
And are those your
yeah,
favorite
no,
songs
yeah, yeah.
on the
For us
album?
off of this, we because there's 11 of them, and we could have easily picked maybe Explode or Underneath Millennia. I know you haven't heard these songs yet, but when you do, man, you'll fucking know what I'm
Can't
talking
wait.
about how great these tracks are. And yeah, I don't know, man. I when I heard Antidote off the bat, I was like, shit, man, that's not the best fucking song we've ever written. And that was the feeling that went around our circle, and the four of us, we couldn't argue with each other about that song. Um, and then it was trying to decide on what the other single was going to be. It was, I mean, Joe pushed for two others that didn't include Missile and or Antidote, but not that they weren't great tracks, because once they get introduced to everybody, you're going to see why that. Yeah, we could have easily have picked maybe Comatose or Your Hunger for War. Amazing tracks, like probably some of the best shit we've ever written.
I'm so hyped, man. And
Yeah, it's
Antidote
great.
definitely setlist staple right there. I can't imagine not
Oh,
hearing that song, seeing you guys live,
yeah,
especially comparing it to the rest of its discography. It's just
yeah.
crazy the quality, you know?
Thanks, man.
Yeah.
Thanks. I
Now,
mean,
yeah,
go ahead. Because for us, it's trying to pick songs now, eh? How do you do that?
exactly.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you got to take songs out now, put songs in, and we're starting to think about playing the new stuff. Not that we haven't, as we were lucky enough last year when we did jam, we got to play because those guys have played so much of this record for so long, getting putting their parts together and getting it down and watching them all play it. Like, get in a room and start naming off songs, and boom, man, we pull them off no problem. And yeah, Antidote's going to be at the top of the list for a few sets coming and going.
Yeah, since it's all muscle memory, might as well, jump right on and do it live. You know what I mean?
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah. So I do have a question about the distribution of this record. So you're working with both the two labels, right? Like
Yes,
Cursed Blessing Records and High Roller.
yes,
Yeah. So there's one's doing Europe distribution, right?
yes. The rest of the world, and
Yeah.
Curse Blessings are going to be doing the North American distribution of it.
Yeah. So how did this collaboration come to be and how's it been working with these labels?
Yeah, no, but actually super happy about how everything's been rolling out so far. High Roller have done a great job in Europe and getting the records to everybody, and they've had a little bit of a jump on Cursed Blessings, but I knew that was kind of coming, and that we're going to be a little bit behind in North America. But overall, I think it's just a timing kind of thing for us here in North America, where last year is on its way out, and we're trying to time up the beginning of this year so that it was a 25 release as opposed to a 24 release. Um,
Yeah.
those guys are on schedule, so I'm expecting stuff to start rolling out in the next couple of days. So hopefully that schedule sticks true, and I get to hold them and check them out myself and see all the different versions that they've made of this record. So the vinyl and I mean the packaging looks just spectacular from what I've seen from all
Great
the guys that
cover.
have their own. Oh yeah, Kowalski did a killer job, man. I was shocked when I seen it and super pleased that yeah, it matches basically how the album looks, and sounds, right?
Yeah, yeah. So, you brought up vinyl. Do you keep that in mind when putting together like a track list? Like, do you go, okay, this is going to be the last song of side A, this is going to be the first side B, or do you really just focus on the flow?
Yeah, no, this time round it was all we cared about was laying out all the songs and then how they all came together. All I can tell you is he picked them, he laid them all out. Man. I'm serious, man. Rob said, "Let's do it this way," and they laid it all out. I just put it all together, put it in my phone, and I'm like, "Oh yeah, this is perfect. I love the way it flows and it all goes together and flows from one song to the next." And when they gave it to me, I was like, yeah, this is perfect. And with the way 20 minutes divides 20 minutes on the opposite side, almost perfect, perfect spacing on both sides. I was
Perfect.
like, yeah, that's for me. I'm shocked, man. I couldn't believe it because sometimes you always have a little bit of imbalance here, imbalance there, but not this time. Perfect 40 minutes and 40 minutes equally pressed on vinyl. I was like, yeah, all right, that's good. Uh, how that all came together and how we picked it that way. Shit, man. Sometimes I think it's blatant luck and maybe it's just fate. I don't know. It went together perfectly, so I can't complain about what song starts it, what song finishes it. Um, even the cover, I still love it too, and it's I think it's 11 perfect songs the way we laid it out.
It seems like the stars have aligned no matter how you look at this record, in terms of everything. And it's just really, really awesome to see with everything. The tracks have been killer. You're telling me the amount of fire and energy and power on the rest of this album, it's like we are not ready and I cannot wait. I'm waiting for that Spotify drop. That's why I was kind of curious about what the distribution
Yeah,
is.
yeah, 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 yeah. We're
Just because I'm
hanging
in my
on.
20s.
Yeah, we're hanging on until the 21st for that, which is official release day
Yeah,
here in now we're like inside 3 weeks. So before you know it, see up here we have in 2 weeks we got a long weekend coming up. So I have a long weekend here in Canada, and then 4 days later, it hits the streets for the first time, and Al starts shipping it around the country and to as many stores that want to stock it, and hopefully by the looks of it, it's going to be it should be robust, and I think a lot of stores and a lot of people are going to want this record.
yeah, yeah, and it's definitely the word's getting around about the band too, and I'm seeing promotions for this release everywhere. So the
Thank you.
hype is definitely there, and the singles have added to that. Now I'm just curious about your influences. I assume you have a lot of, your influences are like Anvil, maybe Creator, some of that old thrash stuff. Are there any modern bands that have influenced you in your songwriting at all?
Of course. I mean, I love Ackerfeld. I love Opeth. For me, I mean, um, the what is it, Watershed, the album in '09 or something. Like I really love that. I love Axelrod. He's a dynamite drummer. So for me, probably some of the more modern bands like Soilwork have really turned on my Rob gave me a lot of their early stuff when I first started playing this stuff again, and uh, Crater. But I mean, all the European bands. So, I mean, I grew up with all those guys. So our sound coming out of the '80s and stuff, like we've all been progressing and still playing, which has been really great because I still see Schmier playing. He's just about to put out a new record. Crater are
Yeah.
always playing. They've been all over the world, and I think they just finished. They're about to do another European run with Warbringer and those guys. So everybody seems to be putting out new records. Everybody's like, I think this is going to be probably the biggest year for thrash that I can remember since '87 when we put out four determination stuff, and bands are just putting out shit like crazy. So it's
Yeah.
I think it's the same. It feels like for me the same kind of run, the same kind of enthusiasm, and I think it's propping up everybody on every scale. Like it's helping us a lot by everybody putting out stuff at the same time. So beneficial to say the least, and it's
Yeah, it's a
nice.
busy year, man. Anthrax, I know Megadeth potentially might put something out this year as well. A lot of heavy
Exactly.
hitters putting out releases, and Sacrifice will be in there with the name of list, the list of albums coming out this year. So really, really excited to see it, man, because this band deserves all the praise it gets. You mentioned the 80s. And I see you as an original member, and there were like four drummers before you, technically,
Yeah,
right? And that was
yeah.
before even the demo, where there's only one official demo, right? Like the Exorcism.
Nope, the exorcism was still me. I did that one. I've done all the early demos. The only thing, like they did some stuff with Craig. I know before I joined the band, and I think they did a high school recording at one like a video I've seen, but I seen it
Yeah.
years ago, and I remember bugging them for years. I said, when am I going to see that video? And I finally seen it after, geez, got to be probably the last 5 years or something, and we all had a good giggle about that one. And but since then, yeah, I've pretty much done everything except for Apocalypse. So
Yeah.
Mike Rosenthal sat in on all the recordings for that, all the songs on that. I only did I only wrote like I did one demoed song off that record. I got it on tape, me playing it in like 1990, and they changed the name up and changed up the bit of the drumming to it, but almost the same though. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Is
that's the only thing that I haven't done. So everything else, but yeah,
yeah.
they had four drummers before me, and I've been yeah the longest server. I guess I'm the guy that's been around for 20, so not bad. I can't complain.
That tape you were mentioning that you have with your recordings, is that public at all? Are those recordings public? And if not, would you make them?
Yeah, maybe I could see them. I could see them because there's a video of them doing Four Horsemen like way back in like 84 or something before I joined, because I joined in May of 85. By the time we did the demo for Exorcism, it was like July of 85, and then we did the Torment and Fire album in September of 85, and then it
Yeah.
just went from there. So yeah, all that stuff was I just happened to go in that order, and I just happened to sit in on most of it, except for when Mike replaced me in 1990. But yeah, I've been the guy.
You are for sure the guy. And you're talking about some of the early days, and I'm just curious, looking back right now, how do you recall navigating that like local metal scene back in the day? What were some of those notorious bands you played with and like some of those early gig experiences?
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, right out of the gate, Larry's Hideaway was our first, our first runs, all the big runs we did. Uh, Razor, I remember all those shows we played with those guys, Slaughter, Dave and Terry. Those guys are still notorious today. People still dreaming about their reunion and dreaming of having it with us, right? And I'm still great friends with all those guys, but yeah, I don't think it'll ever happen. Not that I wouldn't endorse it or be more than happy to play one. Yeah, we were lucky. Like got to play with Snow White, Exodus. I keep telling people, man, I was lucky to see Tom Hunting in '85, Dave Lombardo in '86 for Rain and Blood. Those two experiences for me, and even the drummer for Snow White back in '85. And Guy will tell you this, man, those guys could play thrash like it changed the way I could think about it, the way I started to process how guys played it, and then I just started adapting it myself. And then yeah, I'm the same, but yeah, a little bit different flavor than most guys. I mean, yeah, I guess you could say I'm a bit of Lombardo, little bit of Tom, a little bit of Reiner, a little bit of all these guys. I've had a chance, like even Clive Burr, all those guys I latched onto between, I guess, 83 until my tenure in 85. And I can't say enough about Lars. I can't say enough about Dave. I can't say enough about Tom. Yeah, even the guys in Europe like the Ventnor and stuff. Like all those guys had big plays. The guys in Sepultura, starting to hear all their demos back in the day. Lucky enough that I got to hear all these bands and see it with my own eyes. So it just continued to fuel me and what I was heading for with doing For Determination, doing Soldiers, and then eventually, coming back, playing again. I mean, to think that I could still do it again, like Brandon, like I had to relearn everything back in '04, going in '06, and then all those years of continuing to play with Rob has benefited me because I felt probably over the last maybe 10, 12 years, my drumming has finally been what I expected it to be back in the 80s. And even I always compare myself to how well I played on Soldiers. Could I ever do
Yeah.
that again? Probably not. It's I don't think I could play that as vicious as that as I did then. But then again, I was 22, right? So getting to my 40s, even then when I did Condemned, I didn't think I was, worthy of the accolades I got after I recorded that record and the band itself. Those guys seemed really happy about it, genuine, that thinking it was going to be great. I still had doubt for myself, right? And then everybody loved it. It got great accolades, and then I knew doing this record that when we finally got a chance to play it and do it, I was like, well, no, uh, I'm feeling way better about where I am as a drummer in this genre, and I, I felt when we put it together that I was going to wake people up again about this band and feel like I did in 1990 when we did Soldiers, and and feel that I'm gonna fucking really give it to you the next time I play live.
Yeah, well,
Can
it's
I honestly, you know what I'm saying, Brandon? Can I
yeah,
honestly say that with that, and just be honest about, where I think this band should be and what's coming for us. And yeah, I agree. And I think this fucking album is going to be a little bit of an eye opener for everybody again. And that's what I wanted.
yeah, man, and it's interesting hearing you talk about your drumming like that because I wouldn't call this the new album anything close to like doom metal, like you guys dial it up to 11 and saying that, your thoughts on you playing like the stuff off Soldiers, it's like, it's like it feels like you're still 22 like hearing this shit. Like it's
Yeah,
just crazy how long the band's been around and how fucking killer and fast and tight the band sounds with this release. So, I got to give credit to where credit's due. It's just absolutely, it's so impressive to hear this record, and I cannot wait to hear it live. You were talking about your age on Soldiers. How old were you when you did Torment?
oh shit. Uh, 17.
Jesus.
Yeah, because I turned 18 in November, right? So
Yeah.
85, I was 17 up until November of that year. I turned 18. And then I still had another year before I turned 19 and started to drink. But uh, at that time, I was drinking already. So
Yeah.
did
Yeah.
not,
Yeah.
I know the guys were able to get me beer and I did lots of that. But by the time we got to my 19th birthday, which was Joe's birthday's on the 27th of November. Mine's on the 30th. We opened for Slayer, Rain and Blood on the 28th of November on my 19th birthday weekend. I tell people, I said, I don't know about you, but my drinking, I walked into that play opening for Slayer and Rain and Blood. And they're like, fuck, you kidding me? I'm like, nope. And then I could get into beer stores and shit. And I didn't give a fuck then. It was like, oh, I get that stuff anyways. I can go to bars now and nobody gives a shit, right? But whatever. It's been lucky enough to, yeah, not bad for the age that I'm at, and still be healthy, still vibrant, and that goes for every guy in this band too. Like we're still not bad for a bunch of guys that are, 57, 58. And I still feel like I got a few years left in me for sure. It's like they say, I still got some jet fuel in the tank.
Oh, I can tell, man. It's very prominent. I thought I had a fucking great 19th birthday. Apparently not.
I know, man. There's nobody knows. Listen, there's nobody can fucking compete with me on my 19th. I'll tell you that right now. And then Joe turned 20, so I mean, yeah, that was our birthday weekend, the two of us, and nobody can touch it, man. Nobody can touch it. Like that. That for me was, man, all 30 minutes. Like I had the best spot in the house. I got to watch them on that riser just fucking melt that shit, and they were amazing that night. Totally amazing. Blew me away. And
Killer.
then yeah, you spend the next so that's 87, 88, 89, 90. So that's 4 years you spend trying to, you remember that, you never forget it. And then you try and say, can I get to that level? And then yeah, we spend all that time finishing forward. Uh Very motivational, obviously, for me, recording that record. And then we were already starting to write soldiers at that point. So things started popping. It's amazing how the crossover then was more so than now, where there was no crossover with Condemned and V6. It was like blocked. That stuff was all we did. And then we played all the old stuff. And then just like this album, blocked, played all that stuff, recorded it, and nothing was crossed over. That is, I think, because it's just me and him, and those guys only come to jam with us every once, twice, 3 times a year, and that for us is, uh, I mean, what can I tell you? Like, how many bands get to do that, right? You get to play 3 times a year and still be not bad.
Yeah, yeah, and it's really interesting to hear that in terms of like making each record because each record almost sounds like it's in a vacuum where it's like, especially those first like three, each have such a distinct sound and just general
Yeah,
in terms of the writing. Now,
yeah.
in terms of Torment, like what do you remember about the writing and production of that record? And do you remember the budget you had for that release?
Very small, just like
Yeah,
the studio, a really small house studio, North York. For me, it was. I was just excited because every studio for me was a new experience, and
yeah.
I was gaining studio experience. So when we did Exorcism, and that was done downtown at a pretty big studio then, and I was, that for me, it's like, shit in your pants, and you're recording finally, and you're getting into something you didn't think was ever possible until you tried out for those guys and showed up, and here you are. Now you're in all these different studios. Torment was like that. Yeah, we had a small budget, nice little house studio. I brought all my drums in, set them all in this basement, laid it all down. I think over, just like all the other albums, over one, maybe 2 days. Usually it was just in one day. I'm pretty sure Torment was two. Forward Determination was more or less over three days.
We
And then
got a day upgrade.
yeah, well, you ask about time it takes to
Yeah.
record drums. Soldiers, and I'm going to tell you right now, Brandon. One night, I set up sound. It did everything at 2 o'clock that afternoon, and by 4 the next morning, that album was complete.
That,
I kid you not,
crazy.
man.
Unheard of
I was
today.
kidding you not. Yeah, that we did that. I did that whole thing in about 14 hours. Laid it
That's
all down. But
insane.
but that's because the amount of practice that we had leading up to recording that album was, we never stopped playing it. We were constantly playing it as a band. We were doing like 3 nights a week in Scarborough at Black Metal's place, Ray Wallace. God rest his soul. Miss him like a fucker, man. He would be so happy about this record, just like he was when he heard Condemned. And God love me, he heard it before he passed. So, um, yeah, if without all that time and all the times we played at his place and in his basement, that's all well documented. It's been talked about for years how we played at his place, and man, his mom and dad never bitched once, and we played that album 3 hours a night, 3 nights a week, and we played the shit out of it. and so I got to go in and do it all in one night. I mean, I sometimes think I wish I had maybe done it a little bit differently and maybe done it over 2 days, but they did it all in one night.
Well, that record is so praised, and hearing that, I would never have guessed.
That we
As
did.
a
I did
fan
it
of
in
that
14.
album, yeah,
Yeah,
with how
true.
quick you guys recorded it,
But
it's
see what
just
I'm
so
saying?
unreal. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying about us. Like every experience has been completely different. We did them all in different studios. Like For Determination was done in Grant Avenue, and that was this beautiful house studio in the middle of Hamilton. Why they did it there, why they chose that location, I'll never know. It was up to Brian Taylor and what he thought was best for us, and we usually trusted him. And he took us to all these interesting places. When we did Soldiers, luckily for us, it was at Phase One at the beginning of their runs, and they had done tons of big bands at that point. So to to go back and do V6 again at Phase One, but yet in a different place, different studio, yet still Phase One, all the same gear at this amazing studio just off of Scarborough Town Center, and that for me was a long weekend. Friday long weekend. I took Friday off, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday off anyways because it was a long weekend, Labor Day long weekend. And then I punched my ticket, took all my shit back home because studios in the East End. I live in the West End,
Yeah.
and the reason why it's at the East End is because Rob lives in the East End, and it's easier for him to go and do vocals, guitars, and basically piece it all together, get it all laid down, and then those guys just did their parts. And Joe's in Detroit, Scott's in Vancouver. They did all their stuff on their time through their equipment and laid it down. And I couldn't believe it, man. They sent it all to me and mixed it all. And now you've only heard two songs.
Yeah, I know. Well,
I
I'm gonna listen to this
I can't
record with
believe
such
that.
a
Like,
massive massive thing. You know, it's just like for me, I have a very traditional way of listening to music. You know, I like to once that drop hits, I listen to it right away. I get like the notification on my phone too.
yeah,
And I was a little confused about the whole because there's like the two labels working with this. So with Volume Six.
yes,
So I'm glad it's all cleared up and I understand it now, and for sure cannot wait to listen to this record. And you're right and it's so interesting to hear that, man. And I feel like going back to what I said earlier, every record seems to be like in its own bubble, and that makes a lot of sense now with what you're telling me. I feel like the second release is a little more melodic than the first. Was this a conscious decision or just like a natural evolution of the band? Because I feel like even Soldiers was a little more heavier and just in the writing, and it was so tight. I'd love to know what your view was like on the evolution of the sound between those three records.
yeah. Soldiers was a longer period with all four of us. Um, Condemned was more of we got together, we did the reunion. He gave me everything in demo form. I fell in love with everything. I said, okay, yeah, I can learn all this stuff. And then he goes, okay, let's just write a few more songs, which we did, and they all came across really well. And I said, okay, yeah, we'll keep all that stuff, and we laid it all down. And then there was this one. This one was probably the probably more me and him with more demoed stuff he had done, and he gave it to me, and I said, "Yeah." And then the more demoed stuff he gave me, the more stuff I gave back. Some stuff stuck, some stuff didn't. So this one was, yeah, like, and it was still a bit of a struggle because we only had 4 or 5 songs for the longest time. So that's where you probably heard a lot of the talk about an EP
Yeah.
being a main focus for this album. And then by the time we got to, like I said, probably the end of 22 going into 23, it was more looking like, yeah, maybe we can actually do a record. And then the other songs came, Explode came, um, Mass Extinction was definitely more of a song that we were willing to put more time in. We Will Not Survive was it was a lot of work. That's all I can tell you. It was 6 months of I didn't know if it was going to happen. It did, and we are lucky it happened, and it came out really good. But for a long time, I didn't think it was going to happen, but it did. I was pleased about that. And yeah, when you get a chance to hear all these songs, like I'd be more interested in hearing your take on the rest of the songs. So if you want to pick it up at another time and book me in after you hear it, Brandon,
Well, I
I'd be more than
apologize.
happy to sit down and fill you in on what songs are at least the takes on how we wrote them and shit. I got all that stuff in me too.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I would love to go down like a song by song basis. I must have missed. I wasn't sure if I was maybe like sent a link by the manager of the album or something, or if there's I missed where it was released or something. Because I know the distribution. I was like, fuck, there. I know this album's out there. There must be somewhere to listen to this right now. But that is one of my
Well, let me
downfalls.
between me and you, let me make I'll talk to a few guys I know that actually have it and see if we can get you an advanced copy of it.
Oh,
Would that be fair?
I think that would be totally fair, man.
Okay.
And I would love to give you a song by song review of my thoughts on the
No worries.
record.
Let me see what I could do after tonight, considering you've only heard two and just you're like totally blown away by the two
Yeah,
songs.
well,
I
they're
I
fantastic,
think I
man.
think honestly, man, I think you're deserving of hearing the whole fucking thing, in my opinion. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I
So
really appreciate that, man. And I
let me let
love
me let me do some tire kicking. Before you know it, Joel, I'm hoping that you'll have a copy you can check out and play for a bit.
Yeah, and the vinyl is definitely on my shopping list for sure too. I cannot wait. I love getting new thrash records in. Especially you guys are working with great labels. I won't keep you here for too more much longer. I just have a few more things I want to ask about, like kind of some of the old days of the band. Um, Soldiers, all right, we're talking like the very, very early 90s here. Was there any pressure when it came to the songwriting process, especially with how the music landscape was changing at the time? Did that affect the songwriting at all?
At that time, I didn't give a fuck. I didn't give a shit about any of the scene. I was totally oblivious as to what was going on. For me, I just wanted to put out the best album possible. I was playing it really like, man, we were playing that album really, really good. It's just that I felt like we were starving all the time. So yeah, and my time kind of rang short before it should have, but that's the way it happens. Uh, yeah,
Well,
no,
you're making up for it now.
yeah, yeah. My tenure now has been well. I mean, we've had long conversations about those years and where we're at now, and we're definitely on a better understanding as to what each of us what makes us happy and where we're going forward with this band. So uh, it's still four guys that say yes and no and do what's best for each other. And man, I have never been happier. It's probably the best I've felt, best I've played because of it. Probably the best attitude we as a band have had, and I think it reflects, especially with the live shows we played last year, and the fact that we got to play Oakland last year for the first fucking time. Now I'm telling you right now, I've never played the East Coast. I've never played New York City, which is a fucking travesty. I'm long overdue to play there, and yeah, you're fine city.
That's crazy, man. I had no idea you guys have
I
never played New
swear to
York.
God, that's no bullshit. But yeah, I've never played New York. Those guys have. Um,
Oh, yes. Okay. Yeah.
See what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
those guys have played there. Maybe they played Boston, but they played Boston without me.
I don't
So
think, yeah, it's bands never
I don't
come to
know.
Boston.
I don't think they've ever played Boston before.
Yeah, it's honestly a miracle anytime a thrash metal band plays here.
No shit.
Like, yeah, yeah, we had Violence recently, and it's like, holy shit, someone who's actually not a big four band playing here.
No way.
Yeah, yeah.
But
So you're,
if the scene good, can you at least track to a bunch of guys to go to thrash shows and shit?
oh, for
I
sure,
mean,
man. Yeah,
I'd say
there's
it's probably
crowds.
still, yeah, you still got big bands pulling through like Exodus and and Testament, and all those bands. It's and that's not Slayer, but Death Angel. They must be playing Boston
Yeah,
now and
yeah.
again.
Well,
So there's
of
got to be
course
a scene,
it's
right?
yeah, there of course is a scene. It's more of the tours where it's like five bands together, you know.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
Charging
there's totally a scene.
$120, right?
Yeah, yeah, tell me about it. And that's what it is. And of course we get, you know, Exodus Testament, like of course in a package.
Yeah.
But if a band like Violence or like Forbidden, I don't think Forbidden's played Boston in decades.
Wow.
So it's just like anytime a band like that, like, you know, comes into the city, fans are very happy. And Boston is a wild bunch of metalheads here. Like we don't fuck around.
Yeah, I
We're as
know.
angry in the pit as we are on the street. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, we're going to be feeding them pretty angry albums.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I'm looking forward to it. Yeah. We'll
Oh,
see what
I'm
happens.
eating
But
good,
yeah,
man.
it's going
Yeah.
to be great.
Um,
Can't wait.
yeah. So, you know, how do you balance your like day-to-day life with like sacrifice? I can't
Fuck.
imagine the struggles of that, especially with having such a strong lineup through all these years and having
Yeah.
and maintaining that at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah. We still got full-time jobs. I still work a
Yeah.
job. Uh, well, it's funny because people finally figure out who I am, right? And they're like, they always say the same thing, man. I can't believe you work for a living. And I'm like, yeah, well, you know, we haven't really gotten to that 1% range before, but I mean, I guess we haven't written that big, that big one yet, and maybe this is it. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, I ask that question to myself all the time. Is this the one that everybody finally latches onto, and the screaming becomes so much that yeah, we gotta put that part of our lives on hold and finally go out and make everybody happy. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's not for me to decide, right? You know, I mean, would I do it? Yeah, I guess I could, but I don't know. I haven't done like, a month run, 2 month run before. I've done weeks here, weeks there, but never long, long runs. Is that going to happen? I don't know. It's not up to me.
Well, I would love to see a band like Exodus or Testament team up with you guys and do like a tour. I think that would be excellent. And I think that would expose a lot of people to the music. Such an underrated band. And I really hope this album really gets out there to the masses. And I think it's going to do wonders and be held as one of the best albums of the band. And as we talked about, I cannot wait to listen to this. I will maybe potentially listen to this tonight or tomorrow, depending on our conversation after this episode. But yeah, man, listen, it was great talking to you, and this has
Oh,
been an absolute
absolute pleasure.
honor.
Absolute pleasure.
I cannot wait to hear this record. I really, really hope I can see you guys live in my lifetime. I know, and to build off your point, people don't realize how expensive it is being in a band nowadays. There is so much that comes out of, you know, your own pocket and so
Yeah.
much investing. And
Oh, yeah.
it's the goal, from what I've heard from a lot of bands, is to just break even. And even that is not easy. And we're
Still not.
talking, yeah, and we're talking even Megadeth, man. Like they had to cancel a few shows. They couldn't even go to Australia because it was too expensive.
Yeah.
And it's crazy with how massive a band that is. So it's definitely
True.
it's not an easy time, especially even starting out. I can't imagine doing that. Um,
Yeah, that's gotta be a pain in the ass for a lot of guys. And yeah, you're absolutely right on all points. And a lot of bands struggle just to make any kind of ends meet, or to keep stuff afloat. And I get that. Um, yeah, you just don't know. You know what I'm saying? Like you put them out and you hope for that kind of success, but who knows? Is it going to happen? Maybe it does. Maybe it doesn't. Maybe we just continue doing one-offs here and doing festivals there, and yeah, maybe those bands like fall in love with the record. I mean, we had Teddy from Death Angel come out and see us play in Oakland, and he seemed pretty happy. So who knows? I'm not saying that yes or no it's going to happen, but I think it's going to resonate with a lot of old guys that have seen us toiling on the probably the fringes for the last 20 years, give or take. And yeah, maybe they'll jump up and say, "Yeah, you guys want to play some shows?" And then I'm not going to kick the can at that. This if we get a chance to, for sure.
Yeah, yeah, and you're saying the success of this record will pretty much determine how often you guys are going to play live in the future.
I'd say so. I think
Yeah.
so. I think it will. We've been kind of waiting for it to happen, right? So um, I'm just gonna sit back, smile at all the reviews, which is what I've been doing, and smile at all the guys that get to hear it for the first time and see what they think. And so far, it's been really really good. I can't complain at all.
Awesome, awesome. So, as we wrap up, what's the best way to stay updated with everything Sacrifice, and what's the future look
Sacrifice
like?
on Facebook. We got our own Instagram. You can check us out there. Especially with Facebook, I'm always looking at that, keeping everybody happy, letting them know what's going on. And Curse Blessings on Facebook, always talking about us. High Roller, always talking about us on Facebook. And you can go to either website and check out all the stuff we got coming. We got lots of merchandise coming over the next little while with everything with V6 on it. So I can't wait. And then hopefully everybody enjoys and buys it up.
Awesome. Well, Gus, thank you so much for talking with me today. Really appreciate it.
No problem, Brandon. Absolute
Awesome.
pleasure, man.
Absolute pleasure. My name's Brandon Battick, and this is Disturbing the Priest.
It's death! I've just seen death!